Peace, ladies. Welcome back to the Modern Goddess channel. So this video is not going to be necessarily me giving femininity tips. Rather, I'm going to be sharing some insight with you all to ensure that you're not operating from an immature feminine energy and allowing your femininity to be taken advantage of by the type of men that do not really have your best interest in heart and mind, okay? Because oftentimes a lot of women will ask me for advice, like as far as how to be submissive or just femininity tips dealing with submissiveness, and I'm going to be doing some videos giving some tips on that. However, I think it's really important, the same way I make videos on my other channel trying to ensure that they know what signs to look out for to make sure they're not being manipulated. It's the same thing that I want to do with the ladies as well, because when you are a feminine woman, especially when being submissive is something that you are trying to do, you absolutely can attract the wrong type of men. You absolutely can attract manipulative men and narcissistic men. And so that is what this video is going to be about. Just some subtle signs. This is 5 subtle signs that you are being submissive to a narcissist, okay? Now, before I get into it, I do want to say that there are a lot of men that are trying to be more in their masculine. The same way a lot of women are on a feminine journey, a lot of men are on a masculine journey. A lot of them did not have male representation. A lot of them did not see what healthy masculinity looked like growing up. And so they're doing their best to now be leaders. They're doing their best to tap into that masculine side of themselves. And some of them, because they just don't know any better, they haven't had that good representation, they end up doing things that are kind of narcissistic and they don't even realize it. You know, they don't know. They're just trying to be the man. You know, they're trying to be masculine. And so if you're in a relationship with a man and, you know, he does one or two of the things on this list, then maybe just show it to him and you all can talk about it, because maybe he doesn't even realize that he's doing these things. But if you show your husband or your spouse this video and he's like, oh no, you're tripping, I don't do none of that stuff, or you know, and he makes a big deal about it, or if you're like afraid to show it to him because you feel like he's going to get mad at you, that's a sign right there that you're dealing with a narcissistic man. If you are afraid to express how you feel about something, you're afraid to show him something that you think is going to anger him, or you know, if you can't like just talk to him about how you feel about something and be honest with him, that's a sign right there that you're dealing with a narcissist alone. So yeah, but if he does some of these things and you show it to him, if he's not a narcissist man and he really does care about you and he respects you, you two of you will be able to talk it out and he can work on it. But if not, then you know, proceed with caution. But all right, so here we go. Number 1, narcissists like to be able to control the way people think. Narcissists like it when people agree with everything they say. They like yes men and yes women, okay? A narcissist will not like it for you to have your own opinion, for you to disagree with them. They want you to always agree with everything that comes out of their mouth. And so what will happen if you are submitting to a narcissist man is whenever you have a difference of opinion, whenever you don't necessarily agree with something, if ever you are not saying exactly what he wants to hear you say, then he will try to shame you by telling you that you're not being submissive, you're not being feminine, you're being argumentative, you're being combative, and you're not even doing that. You're just simply trying to express your perspective. You're trying to share your thoughts on something, but because your thoughts don't align with his thoughts, you're not saying what he wants to hear you say, he will say that you are being argumentative, you're not being submissive. And so they'll use that against a feminine woman that cares about being feminine, that cares about, you know, being submissive in her relationship. He'll try to shame you with that, okay? Now, I want to say this disclaimer, ladies, in public, you don't want to disagree with your man. In public, you're a team, you're on the same page, you know, and if you disagree with something, you can just, you know, I don't really know about that, but you don't go try to, you know, challenge him in front of other people. But behind closed doors, if you all are talking about something and you don't agree on something, it's nothing wrong with you sharing your perspective, and you all can have an intellectual conversation about it, challenging each other's thoughts, building with each other. There's nothing wrong with that. Most mature masculine men appreciate a woman that can do that, but the weaker men prefer a woman that cannot think for herself, that doesn't really have an opinion of her own, that doesn't really have a voice of her own. That way he can put his thoughts into her. So a narcissist man will, again, he'll shame you if you have your own thoughts. He'll shame you if you don't agree with him. He'll call you combative, argumentative, and all of that stuff, okay? Number 2, women that are submissive are able to accept constructive criticism. You're able to accept the guidance and the knowledge and the wisdom of a man, and you're able to hold yourself accountable for things. Like, so if he critiques you on something, if you're a submissive woman, you're not going to try to deflect. You're not going to try to play tit for tat. You're going to acknowledge, okay, well, this is something that I might need to work on. This is an area in which I can improve. However, when you're only getting criticism and you're only being torn down, when you're only being pointed, when only your flaws are being pointed out, when he's highlighting everything that's wrong with you, and you're not getting acknowledged for any of the positive traits or any of the good traits that you have, then it's possible that you might be dealing with a narcissist, because narcissists like to tear people all the way down, tears you all the way down, and that way you'll feel like you're not good enough unless he says so. You'll feel like, okay, I am not my best unless he tells me I'm my best. I am not worthy unless he tells me I'm worthy. Like, you start to depend on him and rely on him for your own value. You become kind of insecure, you lose your self-confidence, and you depend on him to tell you that you are worth anything, you know, because that's what they'll do. They'll criticize you and critique you and just tell you this is wrong with you, this is wrong with you, that is wrong with you, until you feel very, very low, you feel very, very down about yourself, and then you find yourself doing everything to try to please him. Every move you make as far as personal development and growth is simply to try to please him, you know. And then before you know it, you end up becoming someone completely different, because everything about your original self, he says, is not good enough. So you keep changing it. He breaks you all the way down and builds you back up into somebody completely different. They do that in the military. They'll break you all the way down and then train you back up into whatever soldier they need you to be. And that's what a narcissist will do in a relationship. Break you down. Everything about you is wrong. And then, you know, you're like, okay, I'm pathetic. Nothing about me is right. And then you'll find yourself, hopefully that makes sense. You'll find yourself trying to please him, and you won't feel good about yourself unless he tells you that there's a reason for you to feel good about yourself, okay? So just pay attention to that. If you're getting a lot of criticism, if you're getting a lot of hate talk, if everything he says is something negative about you, then, you know, that is a sign you're dealing with a narcissist. Number 3 kind of ties into number 2, and that is when you give credit, when you credit him for your growth, and you credit him and give him praise for all of the good things that you do and for all of the good things that have come out of your relationship, but you blame yourself for all of the negative things in your relationship, and you only acknowledge the flaws within yourself. When you're like, oh, it's my fault that this bad thing happened in the relationship, and it's my fault that this bad thing happened, and I still need improvement in this area, and I am still not good at this, but he is perfect in this, and he's such a great man, and he does all of this right, and because of him our relationship is like this. You know, when you credit him for all the good things and you blame yourself for all the bad things, nobody is going to stay in a relationship with someone that's all bad. No one is going to tolerate that. But the reason why narcissists do this is to have you believe that nobody else will tolerate you, nobody else will want you, while at the same time being afraid that he will leave you for someone else, because he's just so great and any woman would be lucky to have him. And you're like, okay, I have to do everything I can to satisfy him and please him yet again, because, you know, he's awesome and he does all of these great things. He's brought all these great characteristics out of me, so he can do that with any woman. And at the same time, you'll feel like, okay, but any man that I'm with, I'm going to bring down, or any man that I'm with, I'm going to bring flaws into the relationship. You get what I mean? So it's another method, again, of like breaking you down, and also it's a method of like controlling you and ensuring that you just don't go anywhere. Okay, so yeah, if you are at a point where you feel like you're giving all praise to him and you're blaming yourself for a lot of things, that is a sign that you're dealing with a narcissist, okay? because again, no one is going to stay with someone that's all bad. So why would he be with you if everything that you did was negative, if everything you brought into the relationship was something bad? He would not stay with you. So understand that you are not the sole contributor to the dysfunction in your relationship. And a narcissist will have you believe that that is the case. They will have you believe that you are the only reason that anything negative happens in the relationship, and they're just there to solve it and to fix it and try to make things work, and that they're sacrificing so much to be with you, and they're doing so much and pouring so much into the relationship, and you're just doing nothing but ruining it. That's what they will have you believe. Okay, but again, nobody's going to stay in a relationship with someone that's doing that. So it's not true. The narcissist contributes to the dysfunction in the relationship as well, but a lot of times you'll be blinded by that manipulation, and you won't even acknowledge what he did. He'll have you convinced that he didn't do anything wrong, that you did it all wrong. So again, crediting him for the good, blaming yourself for the bad. Hopefully that makes sense. Number 4, if by following his direction and by being submissive to him, it causes you to dislike yourself. Okay, it causes you to go against your own morals, your own principles, your own ethics, your own values. Your thoughts are no longer your own. You're starting to agree to things that you know you shouldn't really agree with. You just find yourself becoming someone else, and someone that you really don't like. But because you want to be submissive and you want to follow the direction of a man, you're just going with it. You're just going with the flow anyway. If you have strong values, if there are certain things that challenge or that go against your integrity or your dignity or your self-respect, and he kind of persuades you or convinces you to do those things anyway, and you're going against your intuition, then that is a sign that you're dealing with a narcissist. A narcissist will also have you believe that your intuition is nothing but insecurities. And I'm going to do a video to help you understand the difference between the two. But that is something that narcissists will also do. Have you go against your intuition, have you going against your own beliefs, have you going against the things that are really important to you. And again, you just become someone completely different just to satisfy him and to support him. And you call yourself being submissive, but a man that really cares about you is not going to ask you to sacrifice your dignity, your self-respect, your integrity, your values, your principles. He's not going to try to tell you that your intuition is wrong. He's not going to do that if he absolutely respects you. And one of the things that you will notice is that your actions will start to align with his goals and not your own. Your actions and your thoughts all benefit him and not you. Okay, and a narcissist has no problem with using people to help them get to where they need to get to. Okay, and so that is what will happen again to a submissive woman. If you're not careful, you attract that type of man that will use you for his own benefit, and in the end, you're left being someone that you don't even like. Okay, so just be aware of that. And lastly is very similar to number 4 and that is if you feel like a slave. If you feel like in your relationship your happiness doesn't matter, you being treated well doesn't matter, you being catered to doesn't matter, it's all about him, it's all about serving him. Your whole purpose in life is just to do for him, and you don't really do anything for yourself. He doesn't do anything special for you to try to make you feel good about yourself. You just feel like a slave. If you find that you are afraid of him, if you find that you're walking on eggshells, like you're afraid to anger him, to say anything, that is what a slave is like. A slave is afraid of their master. So if you're afraid to express certain things to him, if you feel like you're walking on eggshells, you feel like, oh, if I don't please him this way, if I don't do this the way he likes it each and every time, I'm going to suffer some type of consequence. If you really truly feel like that, if you find yourself feeling like a slave, then that is not mature submissiveness. However, again, if you're dealing with a narcissist, then that will definitely be the case. You will feel like a slave. You will feel like a servant. You will feel like it's all about him. It has nothing to do with your own happiness. It has nothing to do with anything that's going to benefit you. You find yourself catering to someone that could care less if you're comfortable or not. He doesn't care if you are tired, if you're miserable or whatever. He doesn't care. He wants you to do whatever to make sure he's happy. It's all about him, okay? So that's a slave. And so that is not what it means to be submissive. And if you are doing that, then again, you're submitting to a narcissist. So ladies, these are 5 subtle signs that you're submitting to a narcissist. Please make sure that you are aware of these things and that you have this conversation with your husband, with your spouse, and so that way that you all can move forward and you can have a better understanding of what type of man that you're dealing with. If he is one to try to work on it, if he hears you out, then then that's a good sign. But if he tries to make you seem like you're tripping, you're crazy, or if he says, oh, Saralina is just dumb, don't listen to nothing she's saying, he's not even willing to just care enough to listen to you express how you feel about it, then chances are you're dealing with a narcissist. And if you're afraid to show him this video, if you feel like it's going to anger him, if you feel like you're going to have to deal with some type of consequence from simply trying to have the conversation, simply trying to point out these things to him, then again, that's not a good sign. If you're afraid to express how you feel about something, if you're afraid to let him know that something is bothering you and that you want a change, that's a sign right there that you're submitting to a narcissist, okay? Because it's not all about him. It's about you too. So that is it. Hopefully this helps, ladies. Peace and much love.